Don't start with the architecture, start with the invoice. Last year, I watched two companies build effectively the same thing. AI agents running on enterprise data. One spent around $20,000 a month, the other $200,000. Same outcome, 10 times the bill. The difference wasn't the model, it wasn't the data volume. It was one architectural decision made 18 months earlier that nobody revisited. And most companies watching this already made the same expensive version of that decision without knowing it. Let me show you exactly where the money leaks. There are two dominant ways to architect data for AI, and they bill you in fundamentally different ways. Snowflake separates compute from storage. You store data cheaply and you spin up compute only when you query. The mental model is a taximeter. It runs when you're moving and it stops when you're not. For spiky intermittent analytical workloads, that is elegant and cheap. Databricks in its lakehouse form unifies your data lake and warehouse on open formats. Delta, Iceberg, with compute clusters you provision. The mental model is closer to a leased fleet. Powerful, flexible, yours to control, but someone's paying for those clusters when not everyone is busy. Neither is wrong. The mistake is choosing one without costing it against how AI agents actually behave. And AI agents behave nothing like dashboards these platforms were originally priced around. Here's what nobody models before they sign. A dashboard queries when a human opens it. Predictable, bounded, business hours. An AI agent queries when it reasons. One user question can fan out into dozens of subqueries as the agent explores, retries, and verifies. Multiply that across a fleet of agents running continuously. Your query pattern stops looking like analytics and starts looking like an always-on application. On the separated compute model, if your agents are constantly querying, that taximeter never stops. And the thing that made it cheap for spiky workloads makes it expensive for continuous ones. On the lakehouse model, if your agents are bursty rather than constant, you're paying for proficient clusters sitting idle between reasoning cycles. This is the trap. Companies pick the platform that was cheap for their old workload, point agents at it, and the bill triples. Not because they're wrong, because they never recosted it for a new workload. 3x isn't a vendor problem, it's a workload mismatch problem. Now the part both vendor sales teams skip. The single biggest cost lever isn't the platform. It's whether there's a governed semantic layer between your agents and your data, and without it, every agent reinvents its own queries. It doesn't know revenue is already defined, so it reconstructs it from a raw table, joins it wrong, runs it again, burns compute on the work that was already done somewhere else, and you're paying in compute for absence of shared definitions. With a governed semantic layer, a metric is defined once. Agents query the definitions and not the raw warehouse over and over. You cache the meaning, not just the data. The compute you save is the compute you were spending to recompute the same business logic 1,000 times a day. And this is why I keep coming back to the ratio. For every euro you spend on AI, you spend 6 on the data architecture underneath. Not because the architecture is more important in some abstract sense, because the architecture is what determines whether that euro of AI costs you 1 euro or 3 to operate. So how do you choose correctly? Profile your agent workload first. Before you look at a single pricing page, is it continuous or bursty? How many subqueries does one request generate? How many of that is recomputing logic that should be defined once? Then cost both models against that profile, not against your legacy dashboard usage. Continuous, high fan-out agent workloads often favor proficient compute with aggressive semantic caching. Intermittent, governed workloads often favor separate compute, but the semantic layer sits above both. It's the part that cuts the bill regardless of which platform you land on. Platforms are interchangeable. The discipline is not. Here's the strategic point, and it's bigger than any invoice. When you're an architect for AI without a governed layer you control, you don't just overpay, you hand the vendor your exit. Your business logic gets locked into their compute engine, and the cost of leaving becomes the cost of rebuilding everything. Architectural sovereignty means the meaning of your business, your definitions, your metrics, your governance lives in a layer you own, portable across whatever compute you run underneath. Snowflake today, Databricks tomorrow, something not invented the next year after. The platform is rented, the intelligence is yours. That's the decision that separates companies paying $20,000 from the one paying $200,000. So where does intelligence live in your stack?